Welcome back to Switch to Linux. This is another outdoor philosophy, and I have my whole mic system working now once again. Now that my mic works, awesome! So we're going to be continuing our outdoor philosophy with our simplicity, and today I wanted to talk about simplifying your exercise. This is something particularly as the end of this year comes up and the new year is starting to arrive. The gym memberships shoot up through the roof. They generally cost a lot of money, and most people go to them for about a week or two and then stop going to gym. And it's really a big industry because people can go there. The gyms make a lot of money. The memberships are expensive. Oftentimes they put you on auto pay. You forget to take it off. You never go to the gym despite your best intentions. Now, for people who use the gym, who it's a regular part and a regular habit, it is worth the cost. And part of simplification might be paying that fee, having the cost of going down to the gym, and not having all of that exercise equipment in your house, which is absolutely a valid thing for simplicity. But what I want to say is that if you're not in that habit and you're not sure you're going to get into that habit, the best thing to do is to not spend the money on the gym membership and find other ways. Now, ultimately, what professionals are saying right now in the field is that if you can just get in, a mile or two walk 3 or 4 times a week, that's more than enough exercise for the average person. Now, probably we need more than that. That's my thought. That's kind of like, USRDA for vitamin C is, is it 60 milligrams or whatever? Yeah, which is barely enough to keep an infant off scurvy. Okay. And so we want to go and exceed that a little bit. But the biggest thing I want to talk about with simplicity, and the best way to get that exercise in is to build it into your life. So starting around the 80s, we had those roaring 80s and everyone was so busy. And if you know somebody who's like about 10 to 15 years older than I am, they were raised in that culture and they have a really hard time slowing down. Everything's got to be scheduled. And I'm talking in generalities. And one of those things is schedule a time for the exercise. So on top of an already busy and rushed schedule, they also schedule time to go to the gym. And sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't. And so we really have to stop and examine what's going on in the light of all of that. And the best thing to do is to not schedule that in, but build it into your regular life. If you happen to be at a place where you can walk to the store, walk to the store, grab your couple bags, and don't bring back anything that can't fit in your 1 or 2 canvas carry-on bags that we had talked about, a couple weeks ago. Figure out how to get that into your regular day. If you like to listen to a podcast or something, and I will eventually have these videos on podcast, if you want to listen to the podcast or something, rather than just sit there listening to the podcast, throw the podcast on some device, be it a smartphone or be it just an MP3 player, whatever else, and go take a walk for the duration of the podcast. You do that once a day, and 6 months you're going to lose 5-10 pounds if you're the average person. Just because the basics of figuring all this out is it's just a matter of building into your regular day. Now, if you want a little bit more than that, rather than getting a big workout kit or things like that, there's a couple of simple things you can get. One of those, and this is one of the things I don't have, but you can get a stretch rope. They're like $20, and you can do a ton of exercises on a stretch rope without much of anything. And basically, it's just a resistance thing. You just grab the stretch rope, and you can do this and whatever else, and then you just pull a little bit tighter each time you want to get a little bit, a little bit more. And you can literally do curls on those. You can do an extension, like extensions on those. You can do pretty much any exercise on a stretch rope like that. And it's one thing to do with anything without any extra stuff. You might want to just get a small dumbbell thing and just kind of keep it in the office, just in your way. If you have a separate dedicated exercise room, chances are you're not going to use it nearly as much. But if it's kind of in your way, if it's in the living room by the TV and you like watching your television shows, man, if it's sitting there, you'll just kind of pick it up and do a little bit of things in here while you're doing stuff. That's a good way to do it. The next things, though, are just take a walk around the neighborhood. And it was really funny because the place where I used to live, there was literally a sign down one of the HOA-driven, psycho HOA lunatic people's like, no trespassing, no trespassing. It's like, it's a public public street, you moron. I'm going to walk down the public street. I don't care about your silly little sign. But that is so indicative of where we are in our culture, where we want the absolute perfection. We want the perfectly manicured lawns. We want the sidewalk in front of the house, and then we put a no trespassing sign because we want the sidewalk because it looks perfect, yet no one can walk down it. What the hell is that about? That's insanity. That's insanity. And so build that time in. And I didn't care, by the way. I violated the sign. I walked down the street because you know what? Best I can tell, that street's made with public funds, and I pay taxes in this state, so thank you very much. I'm walking down your street. Now, of course, it's there, so if somebody's doing mischief down there, they can get them on the extra trespassing charge. But if someone's walking down the street, I don't think any HOA is going to win a case against some stranger walking down the street on the sidewalk. But regardless, walk down the street, figure out how to find a little bit of time, just do some walking. But some other things you don't necessarily need to find some time to do. When you go to the store, park out in the back 40, park out not close to the door so you get that extra bit of walking in. Take steps instead of elevators. I mean, unless you're on the 40th floor of your building or whatever, take steps and walk upstairs rather than take an elevator. Take the steps instead of an escalator if you're out at a place that has stairs or an escalator, or, walk up the escalator, better than just standing there and letting the thing do the work for you. But in light of all that, simplicity starts to look like in this area is figuring out that you can do a lot more exercises with just sit-ups and push-ups and, and other things without actually having a ton of extra equipment than you can just having all the ton of extra equipment laying around. But not paying for the gym membership if you don't use it is another very good way of simplicity. That's helping to simplify your finances. Now, if you use that gym membership and you're in the habit of going, absolutely keep it. It's worth it to not have all the equipment there. Especially if you go to the gym as fellowship time, you go with friends, you go with family, and you spend that time to really spend time together while you're exercising or working out. That's a good, valid thing as well. But for the average person, we don't need that. We simply need to run down the street, walk down the street, maybe get one of the stretchy bars, maybe get just a cheap, curl bar, just leave it there. Just figure out the places and the times to build that into your daily routine without adding the extra time to the schedule, without trying to figure out how to fit it all in, because it's actually pretty easy to do to get those things in. And then you can establish, look into the little things called micro habits, where you walk into a room and you do 2 curls, something silly like that. There was actually an entire website on micro habits. So one guy actually demonstrated that by doing one simple thing, every time he'd use the restroom, he'd stop and do 10 push-ups. Over the course of a year, he lost like 20 pounds and gained a ton of muscle mass. Adding nothing else to his day. But that's a very simple thing that he could do. So simplifying your exercise, we already talked about eating. Now, the other part of your health is the exercise. Simplifying your exercise means find the places throughout your day where you can figure out how to do, how to add a few more steps, how to, when and how to do just a couple curls while you're already doing something else, like watching TV or watching this video. Hey, if you're watching this YouTube video and you're just sitting here staring at the screen, maybe grab some curl bars and just curl some things. You don't have a curl bar? Grab a heavy book. Just do something. And like I said, those little flex cables, you can do about any type of exercises on those. And I think they cost like maybe $20 at the most. I really don't recall what the cost is, but they're very handy. And it's just a flex workout, but you can grab the rope tighter and tighter to get more and more resistance out of it. And so building in those little things, we don't need tons of gym equipment. We don't need a gym membership unless you use it. Just figure out what works for you, but add the extra steps in by walking a little bit further, a little bit into the grocery store more than you used to. Figure out the times and the places where you can build in just a simple walk. You don't need to do anything elaborate. You don't need to run out to a gym. Just run down the street. That's what I do right now. In fact, where I'm at right now, I was doing, I used to have to, at night, kind of cross this little creek, walk through a little bit of woods to get to the big subdivision. I'm like, this is kind of crazy. Although my little subdivision is really small, I figured out how to map out exactly a 1 mile run. So I can stop and do a quick 1 mile run through my tiny little subdivision. That means I'm doing a lot of crisscrossing back and forth, but it was way better than taking the extra time, because what I found is I didn't want to spend the extra 5.5, 6 minutes walking up to the place to do a run, to walk back another, we were losing another 10 minutes of your day. But now I can just right out the front door. I know exactly where I need to run that 1 mile distance, come right back in. That's good. If I want 2 miles, I just do it twice. 3 miles, do it 3 times. In fact, I do that 3 times and I got a 5K in, a little more than 3 times. But that's the thing about simplification when it comes to exercise. You don't need elaborate equipment. You don't need a gym membership. You just need to get out there and do something. Get out and do some exercise, be it walking, be it running. Just get out and do some exercise. So that brings us to the end of this outdoor philosophy. I think next week, if I remember correctly, next week we're going to start going through individual rooms of the house and doing some minimalizing through individual rooms of the house. We're still going to do it outside. I'm just going to tell you what we do and the things to look for, as I have done this myself. So thanks for watching this outdoor philosophy. Once again, YouTube has been demonetizing pretty much every video I put up. So if you do want to help support, Amazon links down below. If you ever buy anything on Amazon, use that. Doesn't cost you anything more. It sends me a little bit of tip for doing this. Also, you can help support me on Patreon. Currently, the patrons get the complete unedited live streams. So I'll do the live streams and then I'll edit them down. But the patrons get the full unedited things. And then I'm also working on more patron goals as well. In addition to my Christian books, patrons do get the free audiobooks. In fact, or the free ebooks. In fact, I need to put my other book up there. I don't think I've done that. Anyway, that is the end of this outdoor philosophy. Thanks for watching. You can check out switchtolinux.com/support for more ways to help. And with that, I hope that you enjoy minimalizing your life and switching to Linux.